Hi again, everybody. I'm Pat O'Brien, and once again, welcome to At the Half, coming to you from our New York studios, Playoff Central for the spring. And you know, we have a saying around here that you never know who's going to show up at the half. And I know one person who didn't expect to show up quite this quickly, the coach of the Phoenix Suns, John MacLeod. And John, your playoff guide this year, well, it's got a Red Cross sign on it, it's got a Band-Aid on it. You had all your big guns injured. Portland, though, they're fairly healthy, but they look a little tired.
Pat, they do have healthy people, but what has happened in my mind in this Portland game is they finished a very, very difficult series against Dallas Thursday night, 2 overtimes and 1 two-pointer. They fly to Los Angeles. Los Angeles is rested, and L.A. has a big edge right now.
Quickly, why is this such a blowout, out of curiosity?
Well, it's such a blowout because L.A. is a dynamo, Pat. They're tremendous in every area, offense, defense, half court. And they have great athletes harnessed together in a team concept, and that's what you like to see.
All right, John, let's recap the playoff situation so far. The top half of the bracket in the West has the Lakers and Portland, the game you're watching now. They're already in their conference semifinal. And the bottom half looks like this. Both first-round series will go to 5th and deciding games. Now, last night in San Antonio, the Spurs and Nuggets played Game 4 of their series. And Denver coach Doug Moe, well, his team was getting good shots, but they wouldn't fall in. George Gervin gets the Spurs transition game underway. He gets the ball to Johnny Moore, and he dishes it over to Mike Mitchell for the layup, and the Spurs win ahead early. Midway through the 4th quarter, Denver takes the first lead of the game. When number 20, Elston Turner, makes the steal, he goes coast to coast for the dunk. But in the end, it was too much Mike Mitchell. He had 37 points, including this two-pointer with 47 seconds on the clock.
Anytime you know it's time for you to go home and wash your socks and jocks, the intensity's going to be there.
Socks and jocks. In Salt Lake City, Houston battled for its life against the Jazz. You know, Frank Layden thought he'd walk into the Salt Palace and maybe wrap this one out. In fact, Houston did get out of the blocks fast. Mark Eaton had a playoff record 10 block shots. It leads to a fast break layup for Dale Griffith. In the second half, Akeem Olajuwon uses his quickness now to get inside against Eaton for the layup. Now, the Rockets had an 11-point lead with 1:19 left. Darrell Griffith took the game into his own hands, 3 consecutive three-pointers to cut the lead to 2. But then John Stockton went against Akeem, and this block saved the game, and Houston stuck on to 1.
We're now in a one-game series, and one of us is going to be on vacation.
And out of these Game 5s, who do you see emerging here, John?
Pat, I think I like Houston for the simple reason that they have learned a great deal in this first playoff series in a long time for this ball club, and I like Denver against San Antonio because of the home court advantage for Denver.
They're going to come out of these games with a lot of momentum, too, aren't they?
No doubt about that. Houston has a very big front line. Remember now, Denver, if they can win, is the only team to defeat the Lakers on the foreign floor twice this season.
Okay, John, let's take everybody now to the top half of the Eastern bracket. Boston hung on against Cleveland, and Detroit beat New Jersey earlier this week. The Celtics and Pistons will meet in Game 1 of their conference semifinals tomorrow. Now, the bottom half of the Eastern bracket looks like this, with Philadelphia now matched up against Milwaukee. And last night in Chicago, the Bucks put the Bulls away, and they had a Michael Jackson look-alike. He had some good moves, but there's another man on the Bulls team who's had great moves all year. It's not Dave Corzine, it's Michael Jordan. He gets the rebound here. He had 29 points on the night. Now, this game, John and I were watching it last night, was so physical. Paul McKeskey goes in, he gets mugged under the basket. They scramble around for the basketball, and all they got out of this was a jump ball call. And guess what Kevin Lockery thought of that? That's what he thought of that. A big force for Milwaukee all season has been Terry Cummings. He had 29 last night and looks good in this playoff series.
I think Philly, they're not playing as well as they probably played back in December, but they're still a very competitive ball club with a lot of pride.
And in Washington, this was the story. The score, Sixers 106, Bullets 98 on that final. And, 76ers and Bullets. And the Sixers got off to a quick start, and they got help from the young and the old. There's the young. Charles Barkley goes in for a humongous jam. And from the not-so-young crowd, a familiar face around playoff time. Watch Julius Erving with the big wingspan there. Gets the rebound. He had 25 on the night.
They're real tough. You can't take them from them. They got a lot of players that can go one-on-one, can hit the open shot. So, it's probably a little problem for us, but we got to adjust to it and just be ready to play.
Now, the Sixers' victory sets up a great doubleheader tomorrow here on CBS. Most of you will see Philadelphia against Milwaukee, Game 1, live at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Set your clock ahead, by the way. Some of you will see the deciding game between the Jazz and the Rockets. Then after that, everybody will see Game 1 of the Celtics-Pistons Conference Semifinal Series. And you spoke to K.C. Jones yesterday. What's on his mind these days?
Pat, I did talk to K.C. He's very concerned about the health of his team, particularly Larry Bird with the elbow problem. He feels that the Cleveland series certainly is going to help help his team against Detroit. And as far as Milwaukee and Philly is concerned, Pat, I think that's going to be a great series to sit back and watch.
You like Milwaukee in this one, I bet. Okay, CBS Sports coverage of the 1985 NBA playoffs will continue after this word from your local stations. A quick bit of news before we continue here. Seattle coach Lenny Wilkins was relieved of his duties this week. We wish him good luck in his new job in the Sonics front office. And John MacLeod, this was his own decision, right?
Yes, it was. I did talk to Lenny yesterday. Pat, he's very pleased that he's out of coaching and very excited about moving into the job of general manager.
He'll change his mind if they get Patrick Ewing. Watch. John, I think you'll agree that this was to be a rebuilding year for Milwaukee. Instead, it's turned into a barn burner as the Bucks closed out the season with the third best record in the NBA. We sent Doug Collins out to Beer City to see just how Don Nelson made himself a candidate again for Coach of the Year with a team that lacks household names.
Center, number 53, Alton Lister.
Alton Lister?
At guard, number 15, Craig Hodges.
Craig Hodges? You got to be asking yourself, just who are these guys? Well, they're the same Milwaukee Bucks who posted the third best record in the NBA behind Boston and Los Angeles.
We're not great players, but we play the game the way it's supposed to be played. I can coach average players and make them better players, and I have a good time coaching talented players, getting the best out of them, and having them understand, too, that the players who play with them are really just as important in a team effort as they are.
Last year at this time, Don Nelson was thinking of retiring. His team had grown old, and so had his job. But after much thought, he decided to give coaching one more try. And a big trade rekindled Nelson's passion to coach the Bucks once again.
Guess who? Ricky Pierce.
In the big trade with the lowly Clippers, Milwaukee acquired Craig Hodges, yes, that Craig Hodges, Ricky Pierce, and Terry Cummings.
These players we did our homework on, and these players were not losers. These were winning players playing in a losing situation, and none of the players liked it. They were all very competitive.
Nelly's strength, to me, is his ability to be able to communicate and reach his players, and also that he's made it fairly easy for them to understand his system by drilling and drilling and drilling.
Nelson was a gritty role player with the Celtics, a hard worker whose work ethic has never diminished.
My sleep habits are sporadic. I have trouble sleeping. I work, sometimes 5 in the morning, sometimes 6 in the morning, and I'm a great competitor. I love to compete.
Like their driven coach, there's nothing fancy about these Bucks. They earn victories the old-fashioned way, with hard-nosed defense and intelligent offense.
What would you classify as your strengths?
Probably I'm pretty good in all areas. Maybe I don't have a number 10 category in any, but I've got a lot of 8s and 9s that I'm pretty good at.
And oh yes, there's one other intangible he's pretty good at.
One of the most important things is that you love your players. Whether I criticize them, if they're a superstar or they're my 12th guy, that I really, truly love them.
In Milwaukee, I'm Doug Collins for CBS Sports.
So one thing you learn from this is never throw your coat on national television. John, they're about to begin the second half out in Englewood, and Frank Gleber and James Brown will be back with the call. I'm Pat O'Brien. Thank you for joining us at the half. Enjoy the second half here on CBS.